Hi, welcome everyone to PopCultX episode 59 with our special guest, Jose Sarduy. As some of you guys might remember, we had him maybe about a year ago, talked about his life as a professional comedian, being a veteran pilot, his experience as a Cuban-American immigrant, lots of really funny stuff. So if you were able to see that, we're a fan of Jose. You've seen his stand-up. His special online for Dry Bar has over, I think, like 17 million at this point, probably viewers. So a lot of people have heard of him. I'm a big fan. Once again, welcome, Jose, to our podcast. Let's go ahead and get the conversation started and see what you've been up to.
Hello, my friends. Thank you for having me again. All right. Yeah.
Thanks for joining our little podcast here. So how has life been treating you? Have you been out touring again now that life is getting somewhat back to normal?
Yeah, so I started touring in September of 2020. So I was like, where's the danger? I want there. Can I have shows in danger? But it was slow. It was a slow ramp up. And then cruise ships and colleges started back up, and all my agents were like, please don't say no. We need the money. Please don't say no. So, I've been very busy. Been gone a lot. Like I had these visions, like I created a streaming show, right? And I thought, you know what? I'll try some game streaming. So I did some game streaming, and I'll just do it regularly. Like every Monday, I'll do a game stream. I have not been home enough to game stream at all. Like the last game stream was when I had, you know what, guys? I'll be back next week. I was not back next week. I have not been back, I think, since the fall. So I've just been gone a lot. I've been on a lot of ships, doing a lot of comedy on ships. And the summer's going to be all land shows. And then I'll be back on ships a little bit in the fall. And I just did my second Dry Bar special. So it's been very busy.
Nice. So. Excellent. So you mentioned you going online, video gaming. For me, I think you're extremely brave to do that because I've watched friends do it, and the little teenage prepubescent boys don't mess around online. I've heard things while they're playing that as a 45-year-old man, I have never heard before in my life. Curse words, threats, things that I've never imagined as a child that I would ever hear from, a 13-year-old. It's shocking. Do you get that? Do you get kids threatening you and calling you this, that, and the?
Listen, man, I remember my Halo 3 experience online back in the Xbox days, and having a child's voice say the most vile things to you.
It's true.
Like, does your grandma know you speak like that? Because I do shows for your grandma, and she's like, not my little angel. Yeah, your little angel is a turd when he's got anonymity behind him. Mm-hmm. So I don't play games. I play games that old dudes like us like. Like I play Elite Dangerous, and I'm looking to get into Star Citizen and do some PC gaming. Games for the mature. If you have to be able to afford. Yeah, you got to be able to afford a rig, and it's probably not for children. So that's the kind of thing that I may intermittently stream. Or I may just make videos and just work on my editing because I'm the slowest editor that has ever lived. I did a 2-minute thing for the NACA, the National Association of College, the college bookers. Mm-hmm. It's 2 minutes. My agent was like, "When is that ready?" It took me a month to edit a 2-minute clip because I would just be frustrated, and then I would get it, and I was like, "Oh, good," and then I would hit a button. And then I didn't know what I did. And it ruined the whole thing. And I was like, I have to start over. Like, I don't know any other way to fix this. It's bad. So that may be the thing. I may just make little funny videos that other people don't do about video games, comedian's perspective. And then edit it while I'm on a ship or on the road. So.
Speaking of while you're
I'm curious about the ship.
Is when you say you're a comedian on a ship, my mind goes to my childhood and envisions the love where you have like Julie, the cruise director. You have like all these like glamorous get, everyone's just having fun and getting drunk up. Is it like that, or a little bit maybe more boring?
I mean, it was a little bit like that. Let me turn my phone off. It was kind of like that. It was kind of exciting at first, and then I realized like this is their job. Everybody was very professional.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it wasn't this like when they got drunk at the crew bar, it was mostly to complain about what happened that day. You would see, I would say like the most international, like, you know, unified place I saw on the ship was where the crew members all smoked. Because they generally hung out with like their own country. So like the Thai guys and the Thai people and the Vietnamese, they all kind of hung out. But in the smoking section, it was a mix of everybody, just everybody together. There was officers and there was like people that washed dishes. And it was very like, this is very international. Cigarettes, cancer, bringing people together. And then I just worked the ships during COVID, and it would, for us, it's very like you're wearing a mask all the time, and you basically leave your room to go to the gym, to eat, and to do your shows, and that's it. And then they opened up the ports, and then leave the port. Right, there were a lot of restrictions. I just go to the port to write a joke about the port, and then I would get right back on the ship and find Wi-Fi because ships. That's the ship Wi-Fi is leaves a lot to be desired.
So during an average cruise, how many shows would you do?
Depends on the cruise line. So I did, so like Carnival is the most, you know, blue collar. So you're working every day, maybe 3 shows a night, right? You're like bang, bang. If you're on like Norwegian, you know, you work the coming aboard show, you have 2 shows, then you have an adult show that they don't put in the main theater. They put it in like the nightclub. But even that adult show, it depends on how long the cruise is. Right? If it's a 4-day cruise, they're like, let it rip, Jose. If it's a 14-day cruise, like, they're older, Jose, throttle it back. And then like I do Holland America as well, which is a much more mature crowd. It's a nice way to say, you know, you know, they fought in Korea. And that one you do 2 shows for 1 contract, and they're 45 minutes each. You do them on the main show, on the main stage, and you're there for like a week, and you're doing 2 shows.
I only
so
ask
it depends
because
on the line.
If like you're doing every night, how much material do you have to bring with you? I mean, you don't want to repeat the same set.
No, it's all, you have to do different shows.
Right.
Actually, when you first start out with like Carnival, they allow you to repeat a show.
Oh, okay.
So, and you know what? Actually, on the Norwegian shows like that, you're doing 2 shows a night, but it's the same show. So you're doing an early show and a late show, but it's the same show because they can't. Well, now they can, but before they couldn't put everybody in the theater at one time.
Right.
The ships are still running at reduced capacity. So, like Carnival, you have to have three different sets of 30 minutes. So 1 family friendly, and then 2 adult, and then you can repeat an adult show, and then you repeat the family show. But I have 5 different shows, and then the stage show you have 2 45-minute shows, and so I had that. For Norwegian, you'd have to have 2 45-minute shows, plus a 20-minute opening, welcome aboard show, plus another 45 for the dirty show. So that one had the most constraints. You had to have the most material. But then again, Holland America, it's all clean, but it's older people. So they may not have the lung capacity to laugh out loud. So you burn more material per show. So they're laughing, but it's like their shoulders are moving. You can't really hear them. So you take the laughter you can get, is what I'm saying.
I'm a cruiser, so I go on Norwegian. That's like my cruise line of choice, I guess. One of the things that I notice when I go to the comedy shows is that, 1, it's a free drink package, so everyone's super wasted. Does that make it easier for you as a comedian or worse because then people are just talking and trying to be part of the show? So do you have a preference of like playing a dry bar or hanging out with a bunch of drunk and they're laughing at everything?
It depends on the people, right? So I did Dry Bar, which is in Provo, Utah, and I just did my second comedy special with them, and I was surprised they had caffeine behind the counter. I was like, "Is that Diet Coke? What? You guys are going crazy! You're crazy,
living
man!
It up.
These Mormons, you guys you're slipping. You're slipping, Mormons." Because last time I remember it was just sugar. Sugar was that's the most intense they had. And those audiences, they're used to not drinking, and so they're not very they're used to going out and having a good time without drinking, so that's good. But then you get college kids who they don't really know how to have fun without getting smashed. So there'll be shows where they're not drinking. So college kids, they may be like reserved, and they've only they take in their comedy entertainment on a screen, right? Where it's like right here, and they got headphones in, and they don't want to draw attention to themselves, so they laugh like this, right? But they still LOL. Like, no, you didn't LOL. You laughed. You just LI'd. You laughed inside. That's all you did. Laughed inside. LIS. You LIS. You didn't LOL. You laughed inside. And so it depends, right? So if you get a blue collar type of audience, right, that are out on date night, they're a little tight before they have a few drinks, and then there's a nice happy medium where they're just like, give me the jokes, this guy's great, and then they go over the end like, I want to be a part of the show. You go too far. So it's a balance, man. There's no it depends on the audience, depends on the venue, depends on the area. But every particular area, every particular venue has the perfect audience. And so that's what you hope for in that moment. You're like, I hope this is one of those, Because I appreciated the improv. The improv clubs, they would play a video up front, and it was like Todd Glass or something like that doing the announcements. And Todd Glass would do it in a funny way. And you'd be backstage, and when I was hosting or middle act or whatever, I'd be backstage, and sometimes when I headline too, and I hear the audience laugh at the video, I'm like, this is gonna be good. If the audiences pay attention to the introduction video, you're like, okay, this is gonna be fine. But then you hear Todd Glass hit his best line in that video, and you hear nothing. You're like, all right, everybody, get ready to work. Get your hard hat on. We're digging for laughs. Yeah.
So, speaking of unruly crowds, it's sort of a hot topic. It's kind of dying down now a bit, but I'm sure you've been asked about the Will Smith, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock situations where, people may now feel emboldened to attack comedians for saying funny things. Is that a real threat? Do you actually feel a little bit more uncomfortable now going in front of the stage? Or are you like, I was in the freaking Air Force, I'm not scared of someone drunk rushing the stage?
No, I don't have any concern more than I had before. So
okay.
I've done shows at a stage that wasn't necessarily a gentleman's club. But you could tell they did gentleman club nights.
Okay.
This was the type of venue where someone might rush the stage if you say something bad. So you always, they're like, do you want a stool on stage? Do you want a mic stand? I'm like, yes, I need basically like a lion tamer. I need weapons. Not to necessarily fight, but just to keep them back. So I've done venues that were like that, where I never did chicken wire, but I've had friends that
that's what I was going to say, yeah.
Where there was chicken wire, where it's like a club where they threw bottles, right? Just like the Blues Brothers. Mm-hmm. So I've done these rinky-dink venues where If they don't rush the stage, they'll beat you up in the parking lot, kind of thing. So I've already done that, and so I don't see any more threat than before. I just know that if an audience member gets the idea, most clubs don't have security. You learn that the hard way when you're on the road and you're doing kind of the B and C and the D and sometimes the E clubs. The E is for empty on option. Like I did a club in Milwaukee. It's below a gentleman's club. So this one wasn't even one that was used as a gentleman club. It was below. We could hear, you know what I'm saying, the White Snake playing upstairs. We could hear it during my set. And I remember there was this lady, she was super drunk. I think her name was Agnes. And no, it wasn't. No, Agnes was another night. But I think her name was Marjorie. And she was this very drunk lady. And I zinged her. I counted it on the recording like 10 times. And then I realized no one is going to escort her out. They did me the solid of not selling her any more alcohol. Thanks, club. But I realized, I said it on stage. I'm like, so there's no security. Okay. So I basically incorporated Marjorie into every joke.
Nice.
I would do, I would do my Prius joke, and I'd be like, I drive a car that makes people angry. Can you guess what I drive, Marjorie? Like I would just. And she sometimes answered, but she was so. I actually silenced her by including her. A trick I hadn't seen before, where you include the heckler, and that shuts them up. So I don't have any concern about anybody coming to stage, especially my material. I mean, even my most controversial stuff. I'm not an attack comic, so I don't attack people. I think attack comics maybe are, they probably have to watch themselves a little bit more. And that it'll pass. People are just emboldened by what happened. But you can see even with the Chappelle thing, like that guy was at the Hollywood Bowl. I mean, whoever did that had to have tickets in the front row, had to really do it at the right time when the security wasn't watching, and he had to rush in there. I mean, he didn't have a chance to take his knife out of his gun, right? Like he didn't. It's like I didn't time this right. I wish we had a run through. So
run through.
I don't think there's a huge problem with it. Obviously, such a dumb thing for Will Smith to do. But people are like, should he lose his career for what happened? And I was like, is it realistic that he's going to lose his career? Louis C.K. is doing comedy.
Exactly.
Right?
Won a Grammy.
He won a Grammy. I give Will Smith 8 months and he'll be back. He'll have some big contract after 8 months. He'll, he got out of rehab or he got treatment for depression and all this stuff. And he's had some anger management and he put out a message to his people like, I'm really sorry and I've learned a lot about myself. And a couple months later, Will Smith gets another contract.
If Hollywood can forgive Kevin Costner and all that crap movies he's made, I think they'll forgive Will Smith. That's a running joke of how much I hate Kevin Costner. Every podcast fit an insult in.
Dude, Mel Gibson is still making
Here's
movies.
another one.
Mel Gibson was in the audience like, I could have rushed the stage. There's no security at the Oscars.
That was an option.
The thing that really
the security at the Oscars is to keep us the you know what I'm saying?
The balls of Mel Gibson,
us, the poor people,
to still be acting after the vile things that he's said and done. He's in a movie about Catholics and a priest. Like it's like a family film about a good guy priest, and it's like wow, he's got a lot of nerve, but.
Yeah, I mean, Will Smith will be back. Yeah. He'll be fine. He had millions before. He'll be fine. It's not, you know what I mean?
that's something we talk about here all the time is where's the line for stars to cross where you will no longer, or their fans will no longer support them. Look at like Johnny Depp and his fanatics, right? So where is that line? Is there a line where the fandom will finally say, you know what, we can't have any more of you? Do you think there's anything like that? Any line there?
Polanski, I think. He found the line.
Okay.
What? I can't have sex with a child? No, Roman. You're done. Don't come back to the U.S. or you're going to prison.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the line.
Bill Cosby.
But I don't know. Maybe. I mean,
see, now you're questioning it.
Maybe Roman Polanski will be like, start making movies in Russia. I don't think the Russians care at all. They invaded country and said they were Nazis in this country.
Right.
So you mentioned you were in the basement of a strip club. I imagine you play all kinds of places throughout the United States. Surely there must be one that's like your favorite that, I don't know, maybe it's in a really cool city or they have the best food there. Immediately I go to food, but you're like, yes, I booked such place again. I can't wait to go there. Is there a place like that for you?
I would say to me, the best stage in the country, it was kind of a two-way tie. I would say it was the Ice House in Pasadena, California. Nice. My mind just blanked. The one in Denver. It's not the Comedy Store. Comedy Works. I can't believe that. The best club in the country, and it's like
you could have said anything, and I would have been like, okay.
So the Comedy Works, and there's places like the Comedy Castle near Detroit, and there's a bunch of really great rooms. But the Comedy Works, I got to do one show there. Joe Rogan actually lived in town, and he closed the show that night. It was like a Monday night show, new talent night, and then he got to close it. I had 5 minutes of material prepared. I did 2 minutes of that material.
Wow.
Like I put the mic down by my side and just waited for them to stop laughing. I didn't say it on stage, but I was like, I wrote this and I know it's not that funny. It's unbelievable. But that one's like a classic comedy club. The Ice House is more like a Southern California comedy club. It's more like it's kind of built for showcase and stuff. So I would give the edge as a road guy to the Comedy Works, but those two I think are pretty even in terms of the venues. But I love theaters, right? So the acoustics of a theater are very important to make it challenge a comedy club. And I did what was, I don't even know if it's still the same, but it was the Wells Fargo Center. Years ago, I did it for a comedy contest, and it was set up 1,600 seats. It was used to be a church.
Oh, wow.
So the acoustics were amazing, right? And then this audience, Central California, just over the top amazing, just like ready to laugh, so with you on everything. They found your very unique take on the setup would just tickle them. I can't wait for this punchline. Like they were so good. So kind of those three are really if I had to look back at best venues and shows, are probably those three places. Because the Comedy Works is like that. I think every night, essentially. It was kind of bad. Like I would meet Denver comics on the road and I would see them like uncomfortable on stage. And it was like, you're used to the Comedy Works, bro. It's good to come home to, but you got to leave there sometimes because it's rough out here in these streets, Yeah.
On these mean streets of comedy.
So,
Yeah.
now that you have a good fan base, and do you ever have people that come and is it similar to like seeing a rock group, like they want you to say your greatest hit joke, like they're like screaming, "Oh, talk about the international incident that you stopped." Like, is that a thing? Do like people have a greatest hit request for a comic?
No, I mean,
Greatest
I
hits.
haven't gotten a lot of that. I have because like I've seen other, like I interviewed Fluffy. This was before he just did the LA Coliseum for the Netflix festival. Sold that out 2 nights in a row, or 2 shows. Right. I think before that, the biggest show I was there, I interviewed him for the Toyota Center in Houston. 12,000 seats.
Wow.
And he did his new material, killed it, right? 45 minutes. They loved it. It was just so awesome. And then the last 15 minutes or so, he just took requests.
Wow.
People yelled out their favorite jokes, and he would be like, "All right, I'm doing that one." And then the crowd would cheer that he had acknowledged the joke he was going to do, and then he would do the joke. And I was like,
still laugh.
What is this? This is amazing.
That is cool.
He's doing his best hits. Like, this is great. So I have not experienced that. I think audience members do get tickled to see a joke that they've only seen online, or a joke they've only heard. So they've heard it on XM radio, and then they get to see it live. Like, oh, he's doing that to a whale's wiener. Like, this is what it looks like. I only had the audio version before that, So I do get that sometimes from people that say they really enjoyed seeing me live, and it was just a completely different experience. They loved the video stuff, but live was just like, wow, it was like over the top. So.
Yeah, that's cool.
So to get away really from your stand-up comedy life, just for a second, I wanted to talk about your experience as a pilot. You're up in the air a lot. You're an instructor, reservist. Recently in the news and in pop culture, the U.S. government has reported 400 reports of unidentified flying objects, or UFOs. So I was curious, knowing that you were going to be on our show, did you ever see anything weird while you were flying up in the air as you're instructing new students? Did you, do you believe in UFOs? Like, what's your experience with that?
I mean, you see stuff all the time, but you know what it is for the most part. So I think the reason there's so many UFOs now is the same reason that people thought there were aliens coming when we started building a lot of airplanes. You're not used to seeing the volume of traffic we have, and we have so much drone traffic now. It's becoming, it was starting to become dangerous, and the FAA and the ICAO had to create rules and whatever, and maximum altitudes and big fines if you're like flying a drone near an airport, or because you may be like, oh, look, it's so cool, and you're like right on the approach corridor for runway. If you don't know the rules, right, you become a huge hazard, to the point where birds are now like, whew, we're off the hook, guys. We're not even that dangerous anymore. We're made of flesh. These things have propellers and take out an engine quick. So
wasn't there a guy in a jetpack recently at LAX?
I haven't heard about that. But I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. So I think that's where you're getting a lot of it. Is there's a lot more drone traffic. Drones are cheap. They're easy to get. And it's very easy to fly things without knowing the rules. Just think of all the people that you see on the highway that don't know how to drive. How long have we had cars, guys? And there are people that just don't know how to. The left lane is for passing. Don't be in that lane unless you are going to pass. This is a long time coming, right? I just have to assume everybody that I run into is British. Like, oh, they're used to passing on the other side. Okay.
Oh, he's British. Okay.
Yeah, he's British. That's what so I don't get, so it isn't too frustrating. I'm like, this is a British person. Obviously, with their giant truck with truck nuts on it, they're British. So I think that's what it is. It's as you get a new technology, especially aerial technology, there were a lot of reports of UFOs when airplanes became more ubiquitous and just air traffic in general. And it's the same thing, I think. I've done shows on television where they brought me in as the, engineer and pilot expert to look at UFO sightings.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And they were very frustrated with me.
Because you didn't give them what they wanted.
Could it be aliens? And I was like, I don't know. I just know this is an infrared picture from a fighter plane. And unless they turned it off and turned it back on, I don't know if this isn't a glitch. That's what that looks like to me. That looks like, you remember, this is military equipment. This is the lowest bidder. How do you explain all these alien sightings? Lowest bidder. That's how I explain
it. It slip you a 50 and to say, can you say that that's an alien from
yes.
Pluto or wherever? That is disappointing. I want I want to believe I want to see aliens, but I'm 45. I don't think it's ever going to happen. But again, cargo pilot. I don't know how much you can tell us about your experience, active duty. But what was the weirdest thing that you ever had as cargo? Was there? I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking weird stuff, but was it just basic military stuff?
Torpedoes.
That's scary.
Because they ping.
Oh wow!
Like the internal stuff. I think they had to keep it on or something like that. It was a little creepy.
Yeah.
To go back to pee and hear, just kind of ping, ping. Are these things targeting me? Is it the pee? Is it the urine? Like they're used to being in water, and so they sense water, and they're like, "Turn on, attack!" I
don't know. I picture as a cargo pilot, my mind goes directly to the movie Rampage, where they have a big silverback gorilla in the back, or something crazy like that.
You know what? I think talking about that, I remember we had a truck, a giant truck. It was like a 2-tonner in the back, and the way it was strapped down with chains and straps and all this stuff, I was like, is this overkill? And the guy's like, no, dude, this thing gets loose, we all die. Because you won't be able to control the airplane. It's too big. If it slips back in the cargo bay, you can't bring the nose down. There's not enough control authority because you've exceeded its center of gravity capabilities. And I was like, let's put some more straps in.
Let's just put some more.
Yeah, let's strap it down some more. Yeah.
Speaking of dangerous things, you're a single man living in Southern California, Los Angeles. Well, Danny and I have been married for quite some time. So is it as crazy as I can imagine with Tinder and Instagram and you being a famous comedian? Is it just crazy being a single man out there, or is it you living your best life?
Famous is a stretch, buddy. I think right now, with all the fans I have globally, I could probably sell out a week at a 6,000 seat theater, but you'd have to fly everybody from around the globe into the same city. So that's where I'm at now. If you were going to unite all my fans into one show, you could sell out a week at a 6,000 seat theater all the way across. But that would be very expensive.
Globally famous.
Very expensive airfare. So I just remember I stopped. I went on a couple dates with some actors, and they are, and I have male actor friends, and they're crazy, right? And I've gone and done some TV and movies and auditions, and I know why they're crazy. It's not their fault, right? These are artists, so they're already sensitive. They're actors, so they pretend to be other people. So if you act a lot, you kind of lose yourself a little bit. And then you go audition for work, and nobody ever tells you why they didn't give it to you. If you ask, they'll tell you why they gave it to you. But nobody, there's no constructive criticism. So you go in, you do your best thing, you act your heart out, and then they just don't give it to you. They never tell you why. So you have to make up stories about why you didn't get the role. And it reminds me of those pigeons. You ever see the experiment where the pigeon had to, there was like 3 colors or whatever. He had to peck one color, and then they would give him a seed.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just randomly changed what they had to do. And with very little amount of time, the pigeons started becoming superstitious. Like they would peck and they would walk in a circle. They would flap both wings. They would flap one wing. They created all of these like superstitions because they didn't know how it worked. And that's what happens to actors. You add to the fact they don't make a lot of money in acting. When they get a role, they can't plan on the next one. So they're just like, soon as that role is over and they get paid, fall off a cliff. There's no money coming until they go audition again. It'll drive anybody crazy.
Yeah.
So I just kind of said, you know what? Maybe no actors.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. That's a smart idea.
I think that the more that I see
the online date,
I'm sorry.
The online dating I did years ago. I tried it, and then I was like, this is like a full-time job. I'll just meet them at the library.
There you go.
And then I found that it's mostly, homeless people at the library. The internet's free. So.
And you talked about your mom on our last podcast. She's often brought up in your comedy routine. With respect and love, you sort of, I don't want to say make fun of, but she is inspiration for many of your stories that you tell to audiences. But being that she is a Latino mother, does she put that pressure on you? Like, okay, it's time to get married and give me some grandkids, or is she, kind of got the now he's independent, he's going to do his own thing now?
The pressure's kind of gone at this point. She's kind of accepted it, but yeah, there was a point where I was like, yeah, I don't ever want to have kids, Mom. And she was like, oh, okay.
You see the heartbreak in her eyes.
and she, I think she maybe thought it was like a ploy. It's like, is this a trick so that I don't die? So that I keep waiting? So I stay alive for you? Waiting for a baby to call a grandchild? No. So she got a lot of step grandkids, so she's
very cool.
Fine.
So you are going to be doing a live stream. So tell us about that. It sounds really exciting. You're going to be performing in-house and broadcasting it to everyone to view online?
Yep, in my home studio here. Because of the way the green screen works, because it's not big enough, you can see there's a little bit of wall right there. I don't know if you guys will cut that out, but the screen is like right, like I can, like the hairs on the back of my head stand up because it's so close. So the camera is here, the laptop is here. I've got, I got to do all of my animations that I do on stage, kind of like in this area. Nice. It's like showering on a cruise ship. It's what it feels like. Yeah. So it's a in-person show. You can write comments during the show. I'll answer them between jokes. I'll also do a meet and greet afterwards. And the way I thought of it was like, it was 2020, no live shows in person. So I came up with this streaming show. And some of the examples I used were like, John Oliver's show on HBO. Right? Mm-hmm. That kind of setup. And then I would be standing instead of sitting at a desk. So it's like stand up. And then what was going to be on the video was what was in my head when I either wrote the joke or every time I tell it. So some clip from the internet that I, cultivated, or what's the word? What's the word when you, it's a fancy word. Like when you run an art show, I think it starts with a C.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Curate.
Yeah.
I
It was on the
curated.
tip of my tongue.
There you go.
I know. I was like, fancy word. Come on, buddy. You went to college. So I curated a bunch of videos from the internet that essentially are the mental image I had when I write the joke or when I tell it. And that's just playing while I tell the joke.
Nice.
And so this company does live stream shows. They had Sarah Silverman on and all this other stuff. And they were interested in me. And so I said, I have a streaming show. And then I sent them the files, and they're like, "This is a lot. This is a lot of files. It's like 100 scenes."
Wow.
My jokes are very dense, so it was just like, we just did the tech run through, and the lady was like, "Listen, you can have that green screen behind you, but you got to figure out how to get the background on it. You're already tapping out our systems."
You should just send
that'll be fun on Saturday night.
Yeah, Saturday night. You should just send the video Paul Rudd uses for Conan O'Brien, the Mac and Me clip, and just replay that over and over.
That would be great. Yeah, that Saturday's gonna be a busy day, man. I'm doing a Ghostbusters event. I'm with the Southern California Ghostbusters, so we're dressing up like the Ghostbusters. And,
okay.
Yeah, we're gonna go meet some kids and
Nice.
check it out.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, so it's a birthday party. Some 7-year-old.
How did you like the movie?
What?
How did you like Afterlife then? You're a huge Ghostbusters fan. Okay, me too. Yeah, great. I thought it was great.
Yeah, there were, it was really great what they did for, like a tribute to Harold Ramis.
Yeah.
And how they did it, right? So great. Love that movie. I mean, my favorite is still the first
classic.
one. Mm-hmm. But I would say this one, it's definitely third in the lineup in my appreciation of it, but I still loved it. So I think it was great. I'm excited to see where they're going to go with it, right? Kind of ghost core, Ernie Hudson as, the kind of Nick Fury of Ghostbusters. Nice. And because they can have franchises everywhere. And I really hope they embrace that Ghostbusters as a business is a terrible business, because the majority of the time they don't get any work.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so Jose, you just mentioned that you're in the Southern California Ghostbusters. You can't just say that and not explain what that is, especially to a Latino that is dying to hear about ghosts and aliens. You're a Ghostbuster? What is going on with that?
Yeah, buddy. So I wanted to go.
Wow, look at that.
So I wanted to, you can.
Wow.
Can you hear that?
Do, re, mi,
Look at my face. It's always 6-year-old me. Like, it even shuts off, right? So I was like, people that dress up like Batman and all that stuff, they go to cancer wards and visit kids.
Yeah.
And so I thought the only way I could justify spending, $3,000 on a movie replica proton pack was if we did that, like gave back to the kids. So I built a little one that's kind of kid size with, and I did I went on Etsy because you got to go hard, right? So I built a little one for little kids to wear, and then I got my big proton pack, and I got all a lot of the stuff that goes with it. And I thought, this is great. We'll go to, we'll go to Comic-Cons too and birthday parties, but the main thing was like to go and give back, right? That's the only way I could justify spending $3,000 on a movie replica.
Yeah.
And then finally I found out that there's Ghostbusters organizations everywhere.
Wow.
There's I looked at all the places, and I found out that there's there's a Southern California Ghostbusters, and I wrote the guy. He's an Air Force veteran too, and he's like, yeah, man, let's try you out at this event. So it was a afterlife kind of promotion at a coffee shop. I showed up and I brought all my stuff, and he's like, "You're in, pal." And he sent me a patch. I got my Ghostbusters patch, and then I got my Southern California Ghostbusters patch. And so this was a birthday party. I'm doing it that day of the recording. So
nice.
I'm gonna
Who
wear
drives the Ecto 1?
He has like I don't know. It wouldn't be Ecto 1. It would be like Ecto 5. You know,
Okay.
it's
yeah.
it's like a RAV4, but he's painted it white and it's got the rack on top and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's just this like I'm a huge geek for that sort of thing, and I loved Ghostbusters as a kid, and the fact that there are children now that are being introduced to it and they love it as well is pretty great. I mean, you got to be careful when you show a little kid the first Ghostbuster movie because they curse a lot. So right, you got to be a little careful. But the TV show holds up, right?
Yeah.
The real Ghostbusters.
That's right.
It holds up quite a bit. You know, the guy that was the voice of Garfield was Peter Venkman, and then I think Dave Coulier took over. I think he did the voice after that.
Isn't the voice of Garfield Bill Murray's brother?
No, I don't think so.
No, I could have sworn that at one point I read, or maybe I made that up. I don't know. I could have sworn that the voice of
You want to will it to be
that
true?
That would be pretty awesome.
Isn't Bill Murray's younger brother like a D-list kind of actor or celebrity?
I mean, the Murrays hire each other in every movie, so that's pretty good. I think there's like 3 Murrays in Caddyshack. So.
Nice.
But I thought, you know, I've got this geeky love for this stuff, and is there any way that I can enjoy it as a grown-up and kind of give back? And so that's where the Ghostbusters thing came from.
That's really cool. I saw a DeLorean not too long ago up here in Vegas, and as you can imagine, it was full on Back to the Future, decked out. I talked to the guy a little bit who owned it, and he said he was installing a popcorn machine in it for like where the fusion generator, instead of being trash compactor, it was going to be a popcorn. Yeah, it was going to be a popcorn machine that be popcorn, because he had a screen that would come up and you could project movies onto it from the trunk. So it's really like an all-in-one. Yeah, and I was like, wow, I wish I had that much time and money to come up with something like that. But it's really cool, and just to see that legacy of those creations still live on, especially with the Ghostbusters and stuff. That's what I thought was really cool.
I mean, when they design something like that, you know, like the Proton Pack design, the Ecto 1, the Back to the Future car, those designs are so amazing that even 30, 40 years later, you show that to someone, some kid, and it just captivates the imagination. That kind of design is really a testament to artists in general.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. It's a really great time to be a nerd and a geek, because I went to WonderCon and they had lightsabers. I think I actually saw the Southern California Ghostbusters there. They were right next to like R2D2 and like droids that they were selling for like probably like $5,000 or whatever. And so, it's a great time to be a nerd, because everything that was popular when we were a kid, you can buy replicas. You can, buy the real Ghostbuster toys are back again. He-Man is back out again. Not that, we're playing with toys or anything like that, but it's really cool that stuff is
as I look in your background.
Yeah, it's not like we play with toys or anything. But
we don't technically play. We pose the toys.
Yeah,
they articulate an action figure.
we put the action figure in a cool pose.
Yeah.
So that whenever we're working and, the world starts to bear down on us and it tries to destroy our psyche, we look over and we're like, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I got Beastman and like a crazy, like, it's going to be okay.
So I, as you can see, I just I have a couple action figures that I've curated over the years.
Yeah.
So I don't have kids, but this is my geek room. So I thought this would be funny as the professional comedian. Maybe you can, since I don't have kids, I wanted to have people come over to my house that don't know that we don't have kids and just say, oh, this is where Billy's room used to be. And he died and I haven't touched it since he's left us. And then just like leave them in silence.
They would see through that though. They would see some of the toys and be like, how did a 6-year-old like this? This is a toy from the 60s. What the
He was really cool.
He was the coolest. He was reincarnated, and that's why he died, because he had to move on and become the next Dalai Lama.
He quantum leaped it out of there. Yeah.
That's right.
That was a great show. Great show.
Yeah, they should definitely bring that one back.
So I looked at Garfield while we were talking real quickly. My brain must have messed up. Bill Murray was the Garfield voice in the movie.
For the movies,
he was in the movie. Yeah.
I don't know what I was thinking. And then Chris Pratt who is hired for everything now, is going to be the new Garfield.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
I think Bill Murray he signed on to Garfield because he did another movie. Only if there was another movie he did, and then he's like, I'll do that. And they're like, you can only do that one if you also sign up for Garfield.
Yeah.
So I think he was forced. He showed up and he's like, this is the script. I said I would be here,
Let's get it done.
I would trade places with anyone who has that job any day. The stuff that I deal with during my day job, being the voice of Garfield is a walk in the park, but
a cat that loves lasagna. What could go wrong?
Exactly.
And hates Mondays.
Since we're talking about actors and comedians, I have a question, and maybe you can give me your thoughts on this as a comedian. So a lot of comedians, Eddie Murphy, Mike Myers, Adam Sandler, will play multiple roles in their movies. And like Netflix has their new show, is it the Pentaverte or something like that, with Mike Myers, where he plays like 8 different characters. Pentaveret, thank you. What do you think? Should comedians allow other actors to get work and play those roles? Do they not trust those other actors, or is that just their gig? That's what they like to do.
Well, it depends on the movie. Like when he was the Clumps, right? So when Eddie Murphy did the Clumps, he wrote that. That was his movie, right? I don't think if you get signed on for a movie that you go, well, I want to play all the characters, But if you create it, then it's a showcase of all your abilities and stuff like that.
Okay,
and
that's true.
I think it's like that. But if you show up and you're like, I'm a union buster. No one acts in this movie except me. I'm playing the females. I'm gonna kiss myself.
Kiss myself.
Then that's terrible. That's terrible. Okay. But I think if you create the thing, right? So like if I create a TV show where I play all of my family, right? So I give an impression of every single one of my friends, and I put a wig on for my mom, and all this stuff. Then it's okay. I created it. This was for me. I'm not taking work away from anybody. But if I'm creating a sitcom, right, based on my family, then it seems like you should create work for others, right? You should, get to the top floor and, send the elevator back down, or as they say, you get to the top of the mountain, tie the rock, tie the rope around the rock and send it back down. So that the man in black can come up and join you.
That's a good guy answer. That's why we're fans of Jose Sarduy.
Thank you.
Up as Ghostbuster for kids.
Geek references.
Creating jobs for other actors. A good guy.
Yeah.
And I would watch that show about your family. I think that would be hilarious. Why haven't you done that yet?
I haven't gotten to pitch it. I mean, I still haven't pitched Flying Funny to a network. And so I tell my manager all the time, it's like, I want to be told no. I want to be 65 years old and say I did 50 pitch meetings and they said no to everything. So be it. I don't want to be 65 and be like, I didn't ever get to put my ideas out there. So yeah, the show would be kind of based on me, and I would probably hire some writers and try to figure out the best way to do it for the budget you would have, because you would have the best friend character and the love interest and the quirky neighbor and all that stuff. All those elements where they might be like a mixture of my family. So like a little bit of my dad and a little bit of my uncle and stuff like that, all in one character and that sort of thing. That way you don't have to introduce a whole new character to do a different story arc for that character. Just same character, but they have different facets and stuff like that. That's, I think, the best way to do it. Like my favorite Star Trek character of all time is Rom. If you remember, he's from Deep Space Nine. He's the Ferengi brother. He starts out as a lackey, kind of dumb brother. And what they did with his story arc and his character over the whole show is amazing, right? A character that was very simple, but because he has all these simple elements, you can take him wherever you want. And so you want to create a show like that where it wouldn't just be my dad, right? It would be my dad, but also a little bit of my uncle and my grandfather all in one person. Right. And you could take through all of the things that those people did were funny. So, in some instances, I would be my dad and he would be my grandfather, and we'd have the situation with the penis pump that my dad found. So we would recreate that scenario and put it in the show. We wouldn't have to just introduce a new grandpa character. We could just have that. So creating the show would be great in that respect.
So you're not aiming for like ABC Family?
I would want to push the boundaries. What? Families have penis pumps.
They do.
It's a thing.
So you mentioned your flying show where you have guests on. For those that don't haven't heard about it or seen it, talk about that. And my question for you, why I brought it up is, if that were to get picked up, who would be like your number one guest that you would really want to take up in the air and interview?
So the show's called Flying Funny. I self-funded the web series. We recorded 6 episodes. And because of technical difficulties, I made 3.
At least it wasn't plane difficulties. Then you would have made
there was plane difficulties too. Yeah, the engine was flooded one day because the previous guy left a switch on. So we couldn't record. We had all of the ground ops, and then they wouldn't start. So there were a ton of difficulties. A shoestring budget. I tell the joke to like new guys to join the reserve squadron in the Air Force. I was like, sometimes they won't pay you on time. Paperwork gets sorted, and if you want to force that, need that money. That's when the paperwork won't go through and you won't get paid. Because that's what happened. I was broke, huge in debt, because right when I was doing that show on my own money, the Air Force messed up some paperwork and I didn't get paid for 3 months. So I was just I may just live in the street. And so I recorded the show, and I take comedians up and do aerobatics. And it's funny you say who would be the guest, because I thought it would be comedians until I started asking comedians, and they were all like, "Oh, hell no. No, sir. No."
Nope.
One of my friends was like, "I peed a little just from your explanation. Don't ever ask me to do something like that again, or we won't be friends." Like, I was kind of taken aback that these people that so many folks consider brave to get on stage in front of an audience and tell jokes. Terrified of going upside down in an airplane. Like the terror hit them in the eyeballs. I could see them like horror movie stars, just like they could not say no. They didn't want to interrupt me, but if they most of them wanted to be like, no.
Let me stop you right there.
Talking about it. Right. So yeah, it would be guests. It would be anybody that that somebody with some comedic chops. But I'd want to take up people that are funny. So people off the cuff funny. So improvisation people. Obviously, if Robin Williams was still alive, it would be like someone like Robin Williams. So improv people that can go off the cuff. Jim Carrey comes to mind, that kind of thing would be pretty great. So, I'm a big fan of a lot of like very talented female comedians. So like Amy Poehler and Tina Fey, those kind of, Kristen
Get
Wiig.
Melissa McCarthy up there.
Yes. Yes. So I had a buddy of mine on the show. He's the host of American Ninja Warrior, and he was going to be on the show. And I was driving to the thing, and I was doing the calculations for center of gravity, and I go, "Hey man, how much do you weigh?" And he texts me back how much he weighed, and I went, "That exceeds the weight of the airplane." So I call the place and I go, "Hey, the only way we can do this is if you take gas off the airplane so that we can be within limits." And they're like, "Are you taking weight off of the airplane because your passenger's too heavy?" And I go, "Yes, like we don't do that. That's a safety margin we don't want to break into." And so I wrote him back and I said, "Hey man, it's just the way that you're not fat. Just this particular airplane is a tiny little airplane and it's got a weight limit for center of gravity." And he video called his friend, and his video friend was like, "What's up?" He's like, "I'm too fat for Jose's flying show." So after that, I only looked for funny people that were tiny. So little tiny female males, little people. That's who got on my show.
Nice.
But if I had a bigger budget, I could, take a jet up there where like the weight limit wouldn't be an issue or anything like that. So, but yeah, it would be improvers. So Melissa McCarthy in a high speed jet would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
But so, yeah, the dream person would have been, Robin Williams.
Yeah.
But someone like that is who I'd be looking for to go to. Well, I mean, if we could take any era, obviously I'd probably take up Carol Burnett. So.
Oh
wow, yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, one of my heroes. So
that's actually a surprising answer. I would not think that Carol Burnett would be someone that you admire.
Yeah. So Carol Burnett she was very funny, but she was also I learned a lot from her in that she was very gracious. So like on her show, Harvey Korman and oh man, I can't remember his name now. The other guy was really funny. She just set them up, right? So when she wasn't being funny, she made everybody better by being funny when she had to be funny, and then setting up other people and just letting them rip and putting them in a position to be hilarious. So yeah, she's amazing. Nice. I got to see her live. She's doing a talk, and she just did this thing that she did on her show, which was just like she got questions from the audience. So she just improv'd with the audience. She did that for 30 minutes, and she's pretty old, and she killed it, man. It was amazing.
That's
I was
awesome.
like, this is one of my heroes. So.
Nice. Well,
I think some real quick before you wrap it up, because I just have to get this out there. So you mentioned taking up people in fighter jets and how that would be kind of like comedians. The whole Top Gun Maverick coming out.
Yeah.
Do you think I read about Tom Cruise putting the actors through his own version of a training course or whatnot? Is that enough time to prepare yourself to fly in an F-18? I think he gave him like 3 months.
Well, I mean, that was the story I heard was that he would not do the movie unless the Navy trained him in that plane and certified him to fly by himself.
Oh, okay.
Like, that's a lot of power, man.
That is.
And the Navy remembered how their recruitment went up when the first Top Gun came out. So they were like, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Let's do it.
Gotcha.
The Army and the Marines and stuff, just from like the Michael Bay movies, right? Mm-hmm. That puts the military in a good light. They get recruitment numbers from that. So the Navy kind of knows like this is an investment. And if he crashes and dies, I mean, he asked for that.
He signed a release form.
He signed a release, right? So I don't know how good the movie will be, but that whole part of it is just like the power of rich people in Hollywood and stuff. So,
Okay.
But learning how to. Did you ever watch any machinima back in the day? So like people take a video game and then they create a story using the video game as the video footage, and then they do audio. So there was a show called Red versus Blue, and it was based on Halo, and it was written like people who had been in the military, right? It was so on point for like how military people talk to each other and how we relate to each other. And I don't think any of those people were in the military.
Huh.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's possible to learn the lingo and learn how to think, like, hey, this control does that and all this stuff. So you could learn it in very short time. Actually, learning to fly in the plane would take a lot longer. But knowing that, hey, when you go this way, you look that direction, but you don't look to your left, right? Because you're banking. So you're looking up and left, right? Okay. So you can teach that sort of thing to where they learn the habit patterns, and you can sit in your house and look in the mirror and record yourself and whatnot, what actors do, right? So yeah, it's possible in very short order to learn the lingo. Like when they went through boot camp, they put the actors through boot camp for like Band of Brothers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that was more to build camaraderie.
That makes sense.
I think the important part was like make it look authentic in terms of the
bond
weapons.
Between them.
Well, the weapons and how you carry yourself, and when the wardrobe puts the wardrobe on you, you know what the uniform should look like because a soldier would know what the uniform looks like. So
right.
There's a lot of value to it, and the military they've learned a way to impart a lot of information in a short amount of time. So might as well use the same tactic.
That makes sense. Yeah, they've built that training program already.
Yeah.
Yep.
But how long does it take to learn how to look cool playing volleyball on the beach with your buddies? Like the cool sunglasses and flat top and like greased body?
A lifetime. I think it's a lifetime. I'm still working on it. Every time I do it, it just there's just like a clump of sand right here, and you're right. Like you hit a patch of sand that wasn't soft, and like this is all red and scraped up. You don't look great.
I hear you.
Well, with that imagery in our mind, that's the positive thing about being Latino. We don't age at that same rate as other groups do.
Yeah, until you start a mortgage. I'm looking to start a mortgage, and the gray hairs are popping in, man. The wrinkles are getting deep wrinkles.
Yeah, it's
real estate in Southern California, not a good thing.
No. I was like, how much for 400 square feet? How much? How do you sleep at night?
Compton is such a nice neighborhood.
Compton is,
I mean, neighborhood in Southern California.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Hialeah, Florida. Where this is the neighborhood that I grew up in. I would run home from wrestling practice, and there would be dudes like drinking beer on their porch, big old belly, no shirt on, and they would see me run by. And they would look behind me. And then they would yell out, "Hey, you got away from them!" That's the kind of neighborhood I grew up in. So, I think I'd be fine in Compton. I think I would be fine.
My dad is from Watts, so it makes you a stronger individual. It gives you grit and tenacity is what it does. So
it's also hard to steal a Prius. It's hard to steal a Prius.
So thank you once again, Jose. Thank you to our listeners or subscribers. Please follow Jose on Instagram and on his Facebook group. You can be able to keep up with all his tour date information. Definitely go check out his videos that are already out on YouTube with the Dry Bar special. It's hilarious. You'll laugh. You'll have a good time.
Did you say my court dates?
That's what I heard too.
Really?
I'm like, wow, court dates?
Upcoming
Okay.
Check out his court
Upcoming
dates.
date.
Hey, I'm currently on the hook for jury duty, but I don't think you should come watch me at the case. Oh, he's on this jury. Let's go watch Jose. I heard court dates.
Do something
I heard court
funny.
dates.
Sorry, it's a little known fact that I'm racist against Latinos. So he has to have a court date.
Come watch me in court, you guys. It'll be very riveting.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good week. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.